We've had some good parties, we've had some good crises, we've had some good employees. It's just been a wonderful 40 years. And I really can't pick one year better than another.
Texakoma is persistent in its goal to be the best they can be.
I get excited about coming to work every day because I know that we're always looking at trying new things and doing something different.
We've had bad wells, good wells in between, but you look back to that one back in the start, you say, hey, we can get one tomorrow and do the same thing again.
Cherokee Well was one of the most exciting times in our young career. So we went out there, we found a spot, we put the flag down, we were going to drill that well. Perforated the well. The pressure from the well was so great that it shot the perforating gun up and out of the top of the lubricator, and we felt like Jed Clampett that day.
And it's been producing every day since 1983.
What's neat about the Cherokee is that it's something that we can rely on that shows that we're in something for the long haul. It just reminds us how far we've come and how long we've been around.
Texakoma was founded in 1982. I got in the oil business in 1980. I was 27 years old and I worked in Tulsa for a gentleman up there. And after 2 years, I came up with an idea on how to start an operating company. We looked at different areas to start the business, and I happened to know somebody in Dallas that had office space that we could sublet, and so we picked Dallas.
Back in '82, it was just Dean and his dad and I, and then Scott came a couple of months later.
When I drove down from Minneapolis, come down to join Dean, I had the Dallas theme song playing through my head, and I remember that just driving down, gosh, this is going to be so cool, getting the oil and gas business, and the excitement and the unknown about that. We were out in the field a lot, sitting in our cars on location.
It costs money to have a trailer out there, and so to keep the budget low, I had a station wagon. So you just throw a sleeping bag in the back.
Sleep in the back of the station wagon while they're drilling, because you drill 24 hours a day. You don't stop drilling at all. So we're there throughout the night.
I've been in the field when it's 18 degrees and when it's 104 degrees. It's hot and it's dusty, and West Texas, there's too many rattlesnakes, which I don't care for. But everybody stuck together and just did the best they could. We just hung in there with each other, working 12, 14-hour days, and we just built from there.
With any organization, you're only as good as the people that you have working with you. There was a gentleman that had retired from Sun Oil and was looking for something to do. We ended up hiring him, and he was just a great addition. A gentleman by the name of Jack Andrews. He helped his staff. Some of the people that are still with us today: David Williams, David Suter, Rodney Keel, Craig Slutz.
I could immediately tell that it was a fun place to work, where your thoughts and ideas were heard. There's a reason the four of us have been here for almost 27 to 30 years, is because of the environment. It's like a family. They treat you like a family.
My dad helped out a lot. Being he was a generation older than us, he had a lot of business experience.
Mr. Kennedy, he had such a strong work ethic, always making the right business decisions, thinking about what's best for the company, not necessarily what's best for me.
I thought of, Mr. Kennedy as like a second dad.
Where you laugh together and you cry together. It just builds a camaraderie. As a company, we've been to a lot of weddings. We've been to a lot of funerals. We've seen their kids grow up, the kids get married, they became grandparents.
I joined the company in 2005, but some might say I've actually been here since it started. When I look back on being a young kid, there's people's faces that I remember being here, and those are the same faces that I see here now.
Having the ability to lead a company, to have a group that works for you because they want to, because they appreciate what the company does for them, just makes Texakoma a stronger company.
Working with Texakoma, it feels more like a friendship and a camaraderie. It didn't have to be all business. There was always time for joking and talking about family.
It's a very high intense business, and there's times you gotta blow off steam.
You better have a sense of humor if you're going to work at Texakoma.
And we had a lot of funny pranks. My brother Sean took his headphone with a little microphone right there, and he put a little bit of Parmesan cheese in it. And so the guy puts his headset on, and he's talking, and he can't figure what is that smell. Finally, he figured what it was.
Sean brought a lot of fun to the company.
I would always have to go in, usually on Friday afternoons, and that was kind of like throw the football day.
So we had a long hallway, and every once in a while I'd get a phone call from Dean.
Dean's like, let's throw the football.
And we'd chunk a little Nerf football up and down the hall. And just
Have a little contest with,
Little
the
contest.
football.
Until we'd hear Mr. Kennedy coming, and we'd kind of duck into the back into the offices, and Mr. Kennedy would be like, boys, are you working? Yes, sir, Mr. Kennedy, we're on it.
When you can have fun and look forward to going to work somewhere every day, it makes it easy to work. We're building something that everybody believes in, and I see that because people aren't leaving.
It's hard to start any business, and our business, it was hard at the beginning. And what seemed to be really bad times, when we talk about it, we look back on it really as fondly of how we overcame those obstacles, and they don't seem so bad now.
We've never given up on anything if we think there's still a possibility of it working, because in any business you're going to stump your toe, you're going to bump your head, and it's going to be a tough business. It gets that way.
The nature of the business we're in, it's a cyclical business.
After 40 years, there's been a number of different downturns.
Price of the commodity that we deal with, oil and gas, it fluctuates.
It's an industry that makes or breaks a lot of people who don't approach the difficulties the right way.
7 times I think we've been through downturns, and each time we've grown. It was a struggle when we first started in '82. It was booming, but it was hard to get acreage.
I remember when we started out early on, we had some successes and things, but we saw other people that we knew were having a lot more successes. They were hitting bigger wells and things like that. And they were riding high. And I remember watching that thing, and gosh, if we could hit some of those wells too, that'd be nice.
During that time, we were trying to borrow capital to expand, and because of our size, we weren't able to. But in 1986, the market took a big downturn. We saw what happened to people that were over-leveraged. A lot of companies had their notes called.
They didn't have the cash reserves, and they went out of business.
We saw that, and so it was one of the things that we decided was we didn't want to get high leverage. And so we would forego maybe some growth opportunities, but to keep it lean and not get a lot of debt. And so that was pretty much our routine through the last 40 years.
We learned from that time, then that's what really cemented that in place. So those guys are gone, and we just continued to grow during the hard times.
I joined the company in 2005 when everything was going well, but I remember hearing stories about what things were like in '86. And so when the financial crisis came in 2008, the company was prepared and was expecting some things to happen. 2008
was a challenging year. Again, not having debt was very helpful. And with the employees that we've got, we've had people just work together. We had employees within the company volunteered to take paid cuts so that we didn't have to lay anybody off. And we didn't. We were able to keep everybody.
You believe in the company, you sacrifice for the company, and we don't have these massive layoffs like the big companies do.
There's a lot of unknowns, what tomorrow will bring and what a week will bring. I think that for me, there's a tendency to think of all the eventualities and to plan for them, but your worst fears are seldom realized. COVID, that was the most difficult time. I had the news on in the break room. I'm watching the oil futures, and it started going down, and I grabbed my phone. And I said, I got to take screenshots of this. And I watched it go to $1 a barrel. I watched it go to a penny a barrel. I watched it go negative. Nobody's ever heard of that before.
And oil just crashes to negative $37 a barrel. I never thought I'd see a negative number.
So people buying those futures at $1 were thinking, hey, I'm buying oil at $1. This is going to be great. But when it went to minus 40, they lost money. And I didn't even know how to react. We watched it with our mouth open.
I just go, why at my age do I have to see that going on? I mean, I just couldn't believe it. I mean, when I saw 0, I walked away. And then it kept going. It was terrible. It was gut-wrenching. A lot of companies didn't make it. There's a lot of guys that don't have jobs.
And you have the whole system around the country shutting down. The drilling rigs were shutting down in the Panhandle. I mean, there were just so many uncertainties. So we scrambled to get everybody that could work remotely. We didn't know if all of a sudden overnight we couldn't go in the office, we were going to be closed. Are the banks going to be closed? How are we going to deposit checks? How are we going to get in and do our paperwork for the state?
You know, everybody in the country was scared, and rightfully so. And you had misinformation, you didn't know which way to go, which way to jump. And so we just all, again, got together as a team, and this is what we got to do. You know, we cut back on some expenses, and we just made it work.
We just looked at ways of tightening our belt. Things that were non-essential, we cut out. We'd have a meeting every week on ideas on cutting overhead. We had our operational engineers meet weekly on looking for ways of improving production or cutting expenses on a given well. We just put all hands on deck.
Everybody's trying to think of a creative solution, and everybody's trying to pitch in and be part of the team. With the longevity of the company, you know that there's good and there's bad. And so in the good, you're preparing for if something changes.
When the bad times come along, there's opportunity. We were able to pick up acreage positions that we couldn't even look at, years ago. But when the downturn took place, we were able to pick up some really, really nice acreage because the big companies are cutting off some of their overhead.
We have weathered a lot of different storms here because we're lean, mean, and we make corrective decisions on how to tighten our belts, cut costs, and we survived them all.
You can't let a dry hole discourage you, or you can't let COVID discourage you, or you can't let the price of the product discourage you. If you have a good business plan and you work it every day, it's going to come out good in the end, I guarantee.
If I had to describe Texakoma in one word, it'd be integrity.
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 We do exactly what we say we're going to do.
The philosophy of the ownership of this company is treat people the way you'd want to be treated. Do things the right way.
We would be going down a particular direction on a conversation, and Dean would say, stop, stop, stop. That isn't the right thing. He kind of drew the line in the sand of, no, I'm sticking with what I know is right. Now we just have to have everything else match up for that.
At the end of the day, it's trying to do the right thing. And I think if you consistently try to do the right thing, I think everybody's better off. And I think there are people who will cut corners, or if it's going to cost them a little bit extra, they're going to not put in the extra work. And it all works out in the end. We were drilling a well, the Borchers well. We had drilled this well within 500-600 feet of the total depth and had lost the wellbore.
And we drilled the well, and we were sure it was going to be there. Of course, you're never sure in the oil business. But we were on the wrong side of a fault.
Now, legally, we could have just said, that's it. We tried, we couldn't do it. The formation swelled on us, pipe got stuck, and we could have walked away.
Under the same contract, we moved over and re-drilled the well.
We said, hey, all we got to do is get on the other side of that fault. Yeah, but that's not free. You got to spend all that money you already spent and drill it again.
2 miles deep is not a cheap well. However, management, doing the right thing, decided to scoot the rig over and re-drill the entire well again.
And so we came back up, went over a few hundred foot, drilled on down, and it was one of the better wells we've ever drilled.
It turned out to be a really good well. It paid out multiple times. And I had somebody say to me, said, you must have been really sure that that formation was there. And it wasn't that we were sure to do it, it was the right thing to do.
Integrity at Texakoma is how you do your business. You can do business the right way or the wrong way. And we're not going to step over $1, to miss an opportunity to find some oil and so forth. If we have a well that we know that we can spend X amount of dollars to make it work, we've already gone over budget or spent more money than we anticipated, then we'll do it. We do know when to give up. Sometimes you have to, but there's been a bunch of wells where we did a little extra and it came in real good and then made money for everybody, whereas if we'd have stopped, it'd been over.
The McMorty Ranch in the Panhandle of Texas, when we first started drilling in there in 2005, we basically were drilling what everybody else was drilling for, the certain benchmark in that granite wash section. It would the lower granite wash.
we hit some difficulties as you do miles below the surface. And after multiple attempts to try to complete the well for them the way we had designed it, it was either cut bait and abandon or move forward at our own expense.
And then you try 2 or 3 times, if it doesn't work, then you say, hey, maybe we're on the wrong path. You know, so you reanalyze everything. That's what Dean's good at. Let him reanalyze too.
Dean Kennedy said, you guys have been talking about that shallower zone up there.
And I said to the staff, I said, well, we're going to plug the well. What about that zone up the hole?
We started going looking, well, wait a minute, we've lost circulation in this area. The logs don't look interesting. Let's try it. Let's test it. 2 or 3 million barrels later, those formations that were sitting out there, we've produced.
We've now discovered a few more zones, and we've been able to stay in and work with our financial partners for over 15 years.
It was just that one decision allowed us to break open the rocks and look at other zones in there that have yielded quite a bit of oil and gas.
The people who elect to do business with Texakoma can have confidence. They can come in with their eyes open and see how Texakoma is transparent. It's a company you want to work with.
As a landman, it's our relationship with the outside, whether it's the mineral owner, landowner, surface owner, or companies. Our reputation in the industry is paramount to the success of this company.
Some people would say anything in the world to get some dollars. You know, we don't do that, don't need to.
We're dealing with large ranches. They have 10 different operators on their ranch, and of all the operators, majors, independents, have always said that Texakoma is the best operator we've ever had on the ranch, because we do the extra things.
I do printing for oil and gas companies all across the United States, and in all the trying times with oil and gas, the ups and downs, a lot of them have not survived. And these guys knew how to survive. They knew how to continue. They understand what they're doing, and they do it really well.
So what makes a company like Texakoma stay around for 40 years is that they do things right. Caring about the people that you work with, the product that you deliver and you provide, and doing that right from the very beginning. And having that family feeling keeps everybody to a high level of integrity and working together.
If you've been in business 40 years, you've been doing something right.
When I started in the business, the guy I was working with was walking me through how you read an open hole log. And he said, you see when this curve goes over to this side? He said, that's hydrocarbons. And I looked at something, and it was a big, thick curve. I mean, it was 150 feet thick. And I said, wow, what is this? And he said, oh, that's a shale. Everybody knows shales don't produce. And that was in 1981. And obviously, we've become energy independent because of shales. I've been in the business long enough to hear about peak oil and how we were going to peak, and there wasn't any more oil to find. And that paradigm has completely shifted.
I've seen Texakoma evolve over the years from trucking a truck, a couple of guys that don't know what they're doing, trying to figure it out, to this oil and gas exploration company that is very well respected in their field, and people are excited to be part of it.
What we've done before is build assets, and it takes sometimes 10 years. Drill, drill, drill.
One of the reasons why I think Texakoma survived over 40 years is the people, the employees, and the leadership. It's a well-oiled machine. Texakoma continues to operate and continues to grow.
We've got some good talent here, and with that talent, we've got a lot of brain power. The success we've had in the industry was ideas that came to fruition because management, the owner, Dean Kennedy, said, let's go for it. How do we get more oil and gas out of the ground? How do we become more efficient? And how do we look outside the box where other people haven't looked?
Texakoma has geologists, drilling engineers, geophysicists, and they all come out of industry with excellent experience.
As a small independent, the amount of science we do, we've got a full-time petrophysicist, an ex-Halliburton guy. We've got geophysicists. We've run 3D seismic.
The seismic that we have really helps pick locations, and all the computer models when you put all the information in there, it's really so advantageous to the industry.
What technology has allowed us to do is to expand on things that we weren't able to see before.
And I think that's made us a lot more successful and a lot more efficient in a lot of ways.
You may be successful doing something one way for a long time, but you need to take what was successful from that and take that energy and that knowledge and try something new.
A lot of discoveries and a lot of plays are made by independents, small innovators that are out there that do things that change the industry. The thing that has left a mark on our company have been the challenges we've had to overcome, and then the satisfaction of solving them. My dad used to say, if business was easy, they wouldn't need us.
As we're bringing in new employees, we're bringing in new innovative thoughts and ideas and people that know about the new technologies that are coming in. So we know that in the oil field, there's things today that we don't know are possible, but we're ready for as they come about.
I'm excited to see what comes down the road because we seem to be an industry that adapts very well.
What I get excited about is the prospect of what we can do next and how we can do it. And that's sometimes, taking risks, and that's sometimes putting ourselves in a position that's somewhat uncomfortable because it's not the way we've always done things. But that's what progress is.
For us to go to the next level, you've got to get in the acquisition arena. So we are partnering up right now, working with other companies to join us in that endeavor. That's how you get from here up to another level.
In the next 40 years, I see Texakoma hopefully very similar to how you see it now. Not in the sense of being in the same space or doing things the same way, but having the same feel of family and of desire to grow and desire to learn new things. As we bring new people in, they're the people that stay for the next 40 years. We've grown so much, but we've maintained what we started from.
Texacoma's come a long ways since 1982 when we got started. It should just get better as we go forward. In the end, the oil business is full of uncertainty. But with this team and our history and what we've done to prepare for the future, I really like our chances.